How long has it been since we've been here?
Not yet. Closing in on.
It's crazy. It's just one of those places because people are so passionate about the sport. When you have passionate fans and a great team, it just makes for a chaotic scene around the set. So no matter where we go, we just hope that people have a great time. I really think this is one of the first places. Now you see signs everywhere. We didn't used to have signs, but I remember one time we came here, and we used to be over by the basketball arena. And one time we came out, and I think Penn State was one of the first places to have tons of signs. So looking forward to being back, and hope everybody goes crazy and has a great time.
How would you describe the energy here?
I always say it's as good as there is in the country. People in this SEC are very partial to their region and their fan bases. I always make a big deal with the student section here because I think it's very interesting and different because it's general admission and they allow them to camp out for the big, every game, but especially the big games. And then they come in and whoever gets in there, the students are in there 2 hours before. That's not normal in most places you go. And then the whiteout, when you add that, I feel that it's the best atmosphere, big game atmosphere that there is in the country. And so, I think it's an opportunity for all of us to, whether you're a Penn State fan or a college football fan, just kind of one of those Saturdays where you're just thankful that we're here and it's a great scene and great fans.
You recently made a comment about your kids. You wouldn't mind them coming to play football here at Penn State. What brought that on?
It wasn't for them to come here and play football at Penn State. It was just, I was making a point to Saquon Barkley on a podcast that I do with Ian Fitzsimmons. He was in the middle of me talking to him, and after one of his answers, I just was applauding him for his attitude, how humble he is, and how well-spoken he is. And I just made a comment that Penn State, of all the schools and all the teams and the alumni and the current players that I talk to, they're the most consistent former players that you talk to where they're just so classy. You can bump into a guy that played at Penn State in the 60s, and he acts a certain way. You can bump into a guy in the 70s, and they're just always, they dress well, they speak well, just great representation of the school. So I just made a comment, an observation. Todd Blackledge is another guy, Kurt Warner, you go back to the 80s, but when you bump into a Penn State football player, there's just a certain, almost like elegance about them. So I just made a comment about if my kids can grow up to be like Penn State football players, I'd be a proud dad. That was really, it wasn't, my kids aren't going to play football at Penn State. They're not, I don't think, good enough to play football at Division I level. So it was just more of an observation of the quality of people that come out of this football program more than anything.
What are your immediate reaction, or what was your immediate reaction when you learned that you knew this old man? Since you've experienced that up at the Bryce Jordan Center.
Well, we were going to be out here?
Yeah.
Oh, I was fired up because the place that we've been, it's like when we go to Columbus, there's different places that we've been, and I don't know, I felt that other place that we were, it was okay, but it was a little bit outdated. So we've kind of in the last 5, 6, 7 years gone more to a campus feel, more of a traditional campus feel. And so this is a perfect setting. I think the backdrop here will be phenomenal. People out here tomorrow, I mean, I can only imagine what this is going to look like tomorrow. I think it'll be a sea of white with signs everywhere. That is a backdrop. Yeah, when I heard this, it reminds me of some of the other places we've been in the last 5 years.
Like where? What other places?
Oregon has this kind of feel. I think we did one earlier this year. Wisconsin has this kind of feel where they have a real good backdrop. So there've been a number of them. Where Georgia, where there's not necessarily that ideal spot, so we try to find kind of a famous landmark on a university, and this is a good fit this week.
Could you talk a little bit about the job Franklin has done through the first years here?
Yeah, I think you got to talk about the job Bill O'Brien did, considering what he inherited, and kind of after he left, it's like, oh no, now what are they going to do? And then to be able to bring in James Franklin, he's recruited. He really has an ability to, I think, relate to this generation, whether it's social media or just the way he communicates with the kids. He's kind of a cool coach, unfortunately, I mean, how you recruit in the 70s versus how you recruit today, it's very, very different. And he just has a way about him. So I think players enjoy him. He went out and got Joe Moorhead, who's kind of taken their offense to a whole different level as far as what they're trying to do with their scheme. And so, they caught a lot of confidence after they beat Ohio State last year, and second half of that season all the way to the Rose Bowl, the Big Ten championship. And because so many of those players came back this year, I think it put them in a very, very unique position to be, confident that they could go out and beat anybody that they play. And I think he definitely deserves a lot of credit for that. But also the players, the players that are on this team, the older players. When you have success like they enjoyed last year, a lot of schools become more fragmented and worried about individual status. These guys, man, they're laser focused on winning championships. And these next 3 weeks will tell us everything we need to know about Penn State. I mean, it's been a great run. But you go Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State these next 3 weeks. If they get through these next 3 weeks, I think they'll have proven that they're one of the top teams, if not the top team in the country.
What makes you said a lot recently that you're a big J.C. McClain fan? What makes him stand out to you?
Again, he's one of those guys that when you talk to him, you just love what he's about, what he represents. If we were picking backyard football, he'd be one of the first guys I would pick. Is he the fastest guy? No. Is he, a guy that's going to test off the charts? Not necessarily. But there's something about him as the key to the defense, kind of the quarterback to the defense. He gets everything aligned. He's intelligent. He knows keys and tendencies of what an offense does. I mean, there's a lot to like there. He's more of a traditional kind of Mike linebacker, meaning he likes to play in the box. But he'll have a lot of opportunities to make a lot of tackles in this game.
Hey, Kirk. Hey, watching Saquon on film as much as you did and then calling the game at Iowa, is there anything about his game that you can't fully appreciate until you watch him play in person?
Well, I called his game against Ohio State as a freshman, and I remember leaving that night thinking, man, that kid 26, wow, he went for almost 200 yards. And that was the night that I really saw how physical he could be. But I think this year, you can tell the work he's put into the offseason, becoming even a better receiver. He's no longer just kind of a traditional back where he's going to get the ball, take a handoff, and go. You got to give Joe a lot of credit for what they're doing now, trying to create one-on-one matchups. And to be honest, I don't know how much you guys know about Michigan, but they play a lot of man-to-man coverage. I bet you a big part of how Penn State will try to attack is to get Saquon isolated one-on-one against a linebacker. If I'm Michigan, I got to find an answer to that. But I just think he is as elusive a guy for as big and powerful he is as any back I've ever seen. And he does things that I don't even really think he knows that he's doing, like the jump over the guy from Iowa, the way he shakes people. I think when you see it in person, because of the size, you guys have seen the size of his legs, you're not technically allowed to be as elusive and as big as he is, and yet he has that rare combination. So what an opportunity for him. I mean, everybody's talking about the Heisman. Bryce Love's out at Stanford. Baker Mayfield is at Oklahoma. And here comes three big stages for Saquon and this team, as I said.
Just a couple more here, guys.
That was the game where it was kind of the Ezekiel Elliott comparisons came through. Since then, some people have maybe Todd Gurley. Is there a guy that he reminds you of, Barkley? Can you pick?
I think in the open field he reminds me of Reggie Bush because of how he makes people miss. I think he's his own guy. Zeke Elliott is a guy that between the tackles, like he's pulling people and carrying people, almost like a physical back, although he has speed. Saquon is used in a very different way in this offense where it's more about getting him in space. And that's why he reminds me of a guy like Reggie Bush. Todd Gurley also a physical back. Saquon has those qualities, but I just don't think we see him as often. I think it's more about getting him out, trying to throw him the ball, and just trying to find a way to get him one-on-one with somebody, and they just have no chance to tackle him. If somebody tackles him one-on-one, I'm going to shake that guy's hand because I can't see that ever happening.
You think we should compare him to Marshawn Lynch at all in that respect?
Maybe a Cal Berkeley Marshawn Lynch. But like I said, I think this guy's in his own category with his skill set and what he does. And how refreshing, you guys cover the team, and how refreshing is it to see him carry himself the way he does. In this offense, they don't try to feature him. They don't try to, we got to get him the ball. They just kind of take what the defense gives them. And it'll be interesting to see in this game because Michigan's defense is as good as there is in the country. And you can't really put everybody on Saquon Barkley because they have so many other weapons that can hurt you. So, but no, man, I really don't compare him. There's nobody when I watch him other than Reggie Bush because of what he does in the open field, but nobody that really reminds me of his skill set.
Last one, guys. Last one. Has been impressive too. What have you seen from them on the field?
The Penn State defense, I think we're really going to find out how good they truly are these next 3 weeks. I think I've been impressed with everything that they can do. As far as the secondary, I think it starts with them. I mean, when you have veterans back there that understand what they're seeing and they're not getting tricked, I think that allows you to prevent the big play from happening. And then when you have some true athletes on the defensive line, I mean, they can get really quick up front, very twitchy, how they rush the quarterback. They're physical. It's tough to run the ball on them because of Kabenda and the linebackers that they have. And then the defensive ends can rush the quarterback, and then secondary's covering people. So it makes it really hard. And here comes Michigan. They've last couple games, they've really struggled throwing the football. I just got to believe that Jim Harbaugh is going to come up with a couple wrinkles. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them be much more aggressive than they've been in the last 2 weeks to give John O'Korn a chance to have some success. Because he comes into this game, even his own fans have been frustrated with what he's done since replacing Wilton Spate. So I think if I were Michigan, I would throw on 1st and 10. And if you wait to throw with the whiteout, the student section, till 3rd down, that's going to be a tough night throwing the football. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them try to throw in early downs in this game to try to have some success.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Gotta get to
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.